I've never done this before, so
Learning experience.
yeah, might be a little bit sketchy, but hopefully it should be all good, man.
Yeah.
Let me know once it's I'm just checking on the actual stream here just to make sure it's all good. Can you tune into the stream? I'll link it to you actually.
I'm looking at it right
you
now.
got it? Never done this before, so
yeah. All right. Learning experience.
Cool. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So what I'll actually do, I might actually try and have the might try and get the thing up as well. So the way I'm going to do the stream is make it quite interactive in the sense that I'll try and talk to the chat a little bit. We can get the chat going, and I'm going to make it a lot more, I guess, a little bit more relaxed than my usual coaching sessions. And like, feel free if you have questions or the specific games. Obviously, like I have a kind of plan I want to go through in terms of going over your profile. But if there's any game specifically, wait, we can drag this on quite longer if you want. We can make it a long one, whatever. Thanks guys for tuning in. I don't know if it actually posted on my... Did it actually post onto my my Discord? Let me see. Let me just... Can I even type... How do I even type in chat? Hey guys. Alright. Can one of you guys post, who's in the chat, post in the Discord that I've gone live? Alright. So, alright, let's get into it. So basically, you can see right now I'm just going over your... What I'll do, I'll actually quickly change the scene and I'll go over your OPGG. So looking over your OPGG, there's a few things that I kind of have a few questions. So you are... Actually, I might turn on the light in my room. It's a bit dark. Alright, so yeah, a few questions I had. I was really unsure of when I looked at your account. Generally, it's really obvious to me what sort of player you are or what your main champions are. So obviously you've got here Anivia being your main champion. You got 39 games played, but then you've got a lot of Twisted Fate, a lot of Vega, a lot of Diana, you got like a lot of differing champions here, which either says to me one or two things. You're either very much a you're trying to figure out your champion pool right now, or you're just kind of playing for fun and playing a lot of different champions. Like, what's the go here at the moment?
I guess it'd be more fun. I just kind of play whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, because
whatever I feel like.
Yeah, that's all good. I mean, a few things before we actually get into the gameplay is that I found for myself anyway, it's really difficult to actually... I find it's very difficult to improve at concepts at the game if you have a very large champion pool. A lot of the time I find myself, like, specifically more now than ever because I've been doing a lot of this YouTube content, playing a lot of different champions. It's actually lowered my level of play considerably. So now I have to spend a bit more time kind of, when I go back into high elo on my main account, it takes me a while to adjust. So what I recommend after this video is pick, say a maximum 3 champions and all in on those 3 champions.
Okay.
It will, you definitely will see results a lot more when you kind of hone in your champion pool a little bit. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've seen, okay, at the moment, what is one of your most common champions? So you've got a bit of TF, you've got a bit of Oriana here. And I thought that, in my experience coaching, I found a really good way to kind of start off in terms of a first session is we actually go over one champion first. And we kind of, because if you go over one champion, you can actually start to see the trends and what I think is actually going wrong, the underlying principles within your gameplay. So I've gone ahead and I've watched this game, this Oriana game, a few Oriana games. And the way I want to go through this session is actually go through pretty much 3 or 4, ideally the first 15 minutes of these Oriana games. And then kind of really identify a few things. So it's really interesting because in League of Legends, what I've found so far in terms of when coaching, there's 2 overarching problems in terms of mid laners. One, they play too defensively, and that actually has a snowball effect in terms of how they climb as a player. And because if you play too defensively, you're not taking good enough trades, which means you're giving pressure, or you're not, pushing the limits of your champion, which over a long period of time actually holds you back from improving, because you're not testing the limits of your champion. You're not actually seeing the capabilities of your champion. But you, on the other hand, have this other problem, which is the second type of mid laner, where I feel like you play overly aggressive.
Yeah.
And you play the game a little bit too fast. And I think my goal of this session is to make your problems and the underlying fundamental problems so obvious. And I think it will have, the ones that I'm going to identify, will have a snowball effect to the rest of the game. So that's why I like in our first sessions just to go over the first 15 minutes. And then hopefully I can change your mindset. Because specifically with Oriana, I feel like you play the game very chaotically. And we just need to tone it down a little bit, and we'll get into the specifics now. So let me just change the scene. All right, how many people we got tuning in? Holy shit, we have 61 people tuning in. That's crazy. All right, so we're gonna go over first this. This was a Leblanc game, Oriana versus Leblanc, and this is an interesting matchup. And you play. What I found is actually you play the early trades quite well, majority of the time. But then a combination of lack of tracking the jungler and a lot of these other things really kind of explode your game. Let me just change the scene here. They kind of explode your game, which is what we're going to try and figure out here. So if I'm going to, what I'm going to do, this. I'm actually going to make this borderless. So I got my pen tool here. All right. So, straight away, is the quality, everything's all good on the stream? Like, looks okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think we're going to have to spend a little bit of time talking about jungling. Because I feel like one of the things missing in your skill set is actually understanding jungle pathing and understanding how junglers interact in mid lane. So, how much do you know about jungle pathing out of interest?
Not a lot. I mean, yeah.
Not much? Okay.
Yeah, I guess most common would be like the level 3, so like Gromp, blue, red.
Okay.
Double buff Gromp.
So, a very simple, like in terms of understanding jungle for mid laners, you don't really need to understand too much. Obviously, we could build on this knowledge over time, but one really helpful thing when I'm straight away heading into a game, if we look at this team composition, what do we see here? You have a Mordekaiser jungle, which is, pretty dog shit early game ganks, and you're versing a Yi jungle, which is, again, pretty early,
awesome, man.
pretty bad early ganks, right? So, what does this generally mean for your mid lane, and what does that mean for how you want to play trades? So, Oriana, straight away, generally is a very good isolated 1v1 champion because she has one of the largest ranges in the game. So, generally, your goal is to isolate the lane through vision and keep this LeBlanc from setting up ganks onto you. Now, it's very lucky that you see this sort of matchup. It's a completely different story if you've got a Rek'Sai, a Jarvan, a Elise, where you're going to have to play a lot more respectfully. So the reason this is important is because this is going to, given this, you're versing a Yi jungle, you're not going to have to play too scared. You can actually play, you don't really have to worry about holding the wave on your side. You can keep it in the middle or even start, pushing into the LeBlanc. You're not going to have to worry about ganks too much. Now, in terms of jungle pathing, Jack, one thing that I'll give you, one massive piece of advice, and I use this all the time, all the way up to Challenger, I still use it in my games today, is that junglers very rarely can get into jungle and be ready to gank you before 240. Like, fast junglers can do it around 235. Sorry, around 235. So, this between 235 and 240, this is the earliest you can get ganked, and by the jungler actually being level 3. Obviously, this changes if you're versing a level 2 jungler like Jarvan, maybe Rek'Sai can level 2 gank you, whatever. But majority of junglers, or Twitch, but you'll find that most junglers need to get level 3. And if they do a 3 camp into river, into looking to gank, this is the time in which you need to be careful. So if there's anything you take away from this session, this specific thing will drastically change your game. Now, why is that number important specifically? Well, I use that as the guideline of when to ward. So as this lane plays out, we'll jump back to that in a second. Once we get to around 240, that is when I generally love to use my wards, because then if I use my ward around here or here at like 235-ish, then I know I'm going to be safe for a whole minute on top of that. And then, it just maximizes, because there's no point warding before that, because you're not going to get ganked before that time. So that's generally how I like to view warding. Now, getting straight into the trading. Now, actually, before we jump into the trading, one last thing. Like I said before, I just want to reiterate this one more time, is that one big habit I've noticed with you, Jack, is that, have you actually watched my mid fundamentals video? On trading?
I think so. A little bit.
Okay, so there's a term I like to use in terms of trading, in terms of, describing the types of trades. Now, Oriana is a champion because of her range, which is an obvious strength of hers. Generally, and due to the pace of the game that Oriana wants, you generally be wanting to take, I call them 100 to 0 trades. They're the best sort of trades on Ori, where you're taking maybe, 10% of Leblanc's HP with a Q, and you're taking nothing on the back end. And you can do this because you can outrange and tether the enemy. Now, you can look at this form of trading in isolation in the sense that, yes, it's just a form of trade. But no, there's an underlying mindset to this sort of trade. And the mindset is, no, I'm going to dictate the pace of this game, and I'm going to take this lane very slow. And if I play this lane very slow, don't give this LeBlanc to make this game chaotic, make this lane chaotic. I'm going to extend the laning phase, get very favorable bases, play the lane on my terms, and keep myself from dying, having to blow flashes, keep a very slow, orderly game. Now, that's the mindset I'm already heading in straight into this game. So if we want a slow, orderly laning phase, what do we see? LeBlanc's taking Ignite because she wants chaos, she wants fast, she wants to set up gank, she wants to go, go, go. Whereas you, on the other hand, have TP. So straight away, I'm already thinking, wait, he has a combat spell. So I don't want to give this guy any form of opportunity to use that combat spell, and I want to use my teleport advantage. And this is another concept, a huge thing you're not really utilizing is your teleport, and we'll get into that as well in this video.
Okay.
Now, straight away here, this is playing fine. Okay, I really actually like this, even though you miss your first Q. As Oriana, I really like this, just getting your ball out, because now you're going to be able to Q from side to side like this, and there's really not much LeBlanc can do because you just outrange her. So I don't mind you actually throwing the ball out there. Sometimes I just like to do that once as well. So this is pretty good. Alright, Jack, actually, I just remembered, when I was watching your games, you have a very bad habit of missing a lot of CS.
Oh, yeah.
So, out of interest, before I get into my opinion on that, what is your take on that, on you missing CS? Why do you think that's the case?
I usually just mistime the autos.
Okay.
That's what I've been noticing. I'm kind of used to playing Anivia where you just press R and you get all the CS.
Okay. Well... Okay, so yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I guess you maybe got a bad habit from Anivia. But what I've actually found, Jack, which is super fascinating, I've only recently found this out, because I did this for myself when I used to play Oriana back in the day, is I think it actually ties into something a little deeper. I actually think people miss CS because if you think about the brain, like in terms of just how the brain works in general, like you only have a very specific... I guess, short bandwidth in terms of what you can focus on. Like your brain can only focus on so many things at once. Now, I found that watching a lot of players in lower elo is that their whole mindset is, I gotta kill, I gotta trade onto this guy, do everything I can to kill this guy. So all their attention is focusing, like literally their eyeballs are focusing on this LeBlanc. Now, if you actually take a step back, and if you, because straight away that says to me, your number one priority is trading Qs onto this guy. But for me, when I play Oriana, it's actually the other way around, Jack. I actually prioritize minions first, and then trading is a secondary. Now, this is not the case on all champions. Maybe if you're playing a more aggressive champion like Syndra, like Echo, Diana, LeBlanc, whatever it is, maybe it's going to be the other way around. CS is second and trading is number one. Now, this, I want you to take note of that, and maybe when you rewatch this VOD, and this may sound a little bit weird and like super like psychological and shit, but trust me, like for me anyway, when I play Oriana, when I change my mindset from trading to CSing and securing my CS first, then looking to trade, my games become unbelievably easier. And I actually have a recent video on my YouTube channel where I play TF in gold. And all I do is focus CS and farm. And I just win every game. And it's the exact same with Oriana. If you can focus on CSing, you will get so much stronger than your opponent. And the games just feel like a breeze. But anyway, that's just one little element. So already, this is the first wave and you've missed... three CS. You've missed. If you hit this one, you've got 4. You've missed 2 CS. Nice queuing. I like how you're keeping him at a tether. This is really, really good. Nice. I like this. You just constantly keep him at a tether, poking him. Exactly what you want to be doing. And this is what we call 100-0 trading, where you're getting trades off, you're tethering him, he can't trade back. It's really, really good stuff here. Nothing too special going on, but just stock standard stuff. Brilliant. Okay, this is the first problem in terms of laning. Let me go back. Let's go back a little bit here and take a look at this again. Now, straight away, what do we see here? If we just pause this freeze frame, what do we see? Well, we see that your ball, look at your ball distance. Now, something as you'll get used to over time on Oriana, and something to think about is, look how difficult it is to move your ball. Like, this distance between here and Leblanc's character is very large. Now, it's very difficult to hit this Q unless you're timing it with a minion. But even then, a lot of the time, what I actually like to do is I actually just like to chill and conserve my mana a little bit. And what I find with a lot of players do as well is that they get carried away with just spamming their abilities a lot. And I find you do this as well. In terms of rationing out your mana, you just need to trade when your mana flows up and just continually, again, look to slow down the pace of the lane here. And I think here you get carried away by trying to reposition. Look how hard it is for you to hit Q when he just jumps onto you like this. Right now, you're just not tethering Leblanc at all. So I always try to bring it back and remind myself, what am I trying to do in this lane? If I'm not having my ball out here, I'm either doing one or two things. I'm having my ball really deep and moving my Q to side, or I'm going to have it on me completely, stay out of range of W. If he tries to W me, I'll just E myself and then Q to chase on the back end. But I feel like having the ball out to the side like this doesn't really serve any purpose. You're not looking to poke. You're not having the E on you for resistances and extra shield damage. You're not really doing anything. So this is what happens as a result of letting Leblanc into your zone and not kind of tethering correctly. But not too big of a deal. Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This specific moment, this is exactly where you need to ward. So this is a very brief moment you'll find in a lot of lanes where it's heading to 230-ish. This is basically, you find this in any lane matchup. This is your opportunity to get some vision out. So even if you're versing a farming jungler like Yi, or maybe you're versing a Kane or a Graves, or it doesn't matter what the hell you're versing, this is your opportunity. And the reason is that, like, after this wave dies, it's going to be there's not going to be much time for you. You're not going to find time to be able to walk into river and actually get your vision. So I find if you are pushing in the early game, it's really good as this wave crashes, this first wave crashes, and given that it's very small as well, it's worth just walking up to river, warding aside, walking this dot brush, and then going back to lane. Now that's going to give you a side to lean, but more importantly, and what's super interesting, that this game, Yi's actually invaded your red. Now, warding doesn't just serve one purpose, Jack. It doesn't just serve the purpose of you staying safe. Yes, that is a very important purpose, but more importantly, this is what people complain all the time in Discord, saying, my teams are bad, my side lanes are losing. And people always ask, why does Dopa win games on Oriana? Now, if you really pay attention to Dopa's videos, and this extends to all mages specifically. So because you're naturally not a roamer and you can't just push and dive sides and go, you need to find other ways to help your team. Now, vision, so if you would award this, and Yi as actually finishes the red and actually walks back into his topside jungle. Now, if Yi shows on this ward, going back into his jungle with red buff, then it's going to give... Imagine how much information that's going to give your team. It's going to show this Darius that he's in an isolated 1v1. It's also going to tell Darius that Yi's topside, so he has to play a little careful. It's going to send information to your bot lane that they're in an isolated 2v2 and Yi cannot be bot, so they can play as aggressive as they want. It also tells this Mordekaiser jungle that his topside's already taken, so maybe he should just go, potentially just take Yi's bot side. It doesn't just... The point is I'm trying to make is that it doesn't just help you, it helps the entire team. Now, in your VODs, there's a lot of times where you just don't use wards, you just sit on 2 trinkets for a long time, or like you only ward when it's like this perfect moment. And I feel like you're just missing on a lot of opportunities to help your team through this information. So, that's just a little thing here. Does that make sense, by the way?
Yeah.
Cool.
Use words.
Alright. Let me see a little CS, not too bad. And now the wave's kind of in this awkward spot. The problem is, do you remember, if you can recall, were you scared in this point? Because right now, you're actually quite vulnerable to ganks.
Definitely.
Okay.
Or at least that should have been.
Yeah, exactly. And this just shows, like, again, by not warding, your chances, you don't know if this is an isolated 1v1 or not. Like, you can actually punish this guy if you had the topside warded, because then you knew that, you'd be able to just lean onto one side and you'd be quite safe. But now you're quite scared because you can actually get chased down the lane. Now, obviously, this is not good this is perfect for Leblanc, right? Because she can just chain you. Yeah. You can come from behind and chase you down and you're dead. So, this is just a result of poor... Okay. Yeah, bit of an average trade there. Miscue. Not really tethering. Alright, this is a big problem here. And this is something that you can work on with time. So let's just ignore that trade for now, because obviously you were trying to go for that cannon, you mistimed your E, this is things we can work on. But now what do we see? You've used your Q. What are the key pieces of information we have? And I want to always tie it back to this. Look how much mana you have. And so if I'm in your shoes right now, I'm not in a good spot. The wave's coming out to you, which is, you can just play patient. Look at the distance between you and Leblanc. You're not tethering. Your ball's all the way back here. You have no vision. And you're playing this lane extremely fast. Like, he's just heavy trading onto you. You've used 2 corrupting pots. You've missed a bunch of CS. You can kind of see how you're not really... Like, you're making the game hard for yourself. Do you see how you're making the game hard for yourself? By this is the most crazy thing I've actually realized when watching a lot of people coach, is that in gold, especially, and this is what I talk about mid fundamentals, you don't, especially when you play these types of scaling champions, is that the onus is on them to make the play. Now, because you have an insane range advantage, and like, a lot of the time, I just see players they give the opportunities to the enemy laner. And here right now, this whole time, if we just think about it, if we go back all the way back here when the wave was here, you actually did not even need to walk up at all. You could have just let it come out to you, played very safe and slow, knowing that you don't have vision. You don't need, and again, you've used your Q, you're going in range, you're giving him these opportunities to take these trades. And this is what I call heavy trading. This is the opposite of taking 100-0 trades. And this is not coherent with the identity of Oriana as a champion. Now, in terms of item spikes as well, like, you now only have 430 gold. You're just in a really, really bad spot. This is, again, increasing the chances, you being low. This is sending signals to the enemy saying, hey guys, I'm really low, we're heavy trading, junglers come and, take your pick. I'm ready to trade 1-for-1, I'm ready to die. Like, this is just what it's telling the junglers. And this is how I play TF and Ori in low elos. Like, I take such good trades that the jungler's not going to come mid, because I'm always 100 full or like very high HP. I've always got vision. I'm leaning to one side. I can never die to a gank. So you kind of see where I'm coming from so far. Like, I mean, we're going very deep into the first 3 minutes, but I'm trying to kind of highlight a few of the mindset I think that's going wrong with your Oriana. Does it kind of make sense?
Yeah. I'm not just playing back.
Yeah.
The scaling happened.
But it's not even playing defensively. It's playing coherent with Oriana's identity. It's like you're not abusing your range advantage. If you were to just chill and abuse your range advantage with Q, there's no counterplay. Like, there really isn't much counterplay, because if you tether her W range, you always out-trade. If she just misses her W and she just QEs, you can just trade back onto her and win the trade anyway. So, and that's just not mana efficient for her. She can't do those sorts of trades over and over again. With your Q and queuing off mana flow, you can drag this laning phase out as long as you want. Now, last thing I want to quickly talk about this laning phase is, not last thing, but one other really important thing. And this just ties into utilizing TP. Now, I can't remember the analogy I had, but there was an analogy I had for sitting on no mana. But I don't know, just coming off the top of my head, when you have teleport, I hate being on low mana. Now, why is that? Well, if I want to push and get a good reset, I don't have enough mana to be able to push and recall and TP back to lane. Now, if Leblanc's going to be able to push in the wave into me, she can just recall without having to use TP. I'm not going to be able to punish her lack of TP. So this is why as well, if you just sit on no mana like this, how are you ever going to be able to push out the wave and reset to deny this Leblanc CS or get a really good tempo base? Like, you're not. You're just not going to be able to get the wave out because you're just sitting on low mana like this. So sitting on low mana is really limits your ability to actually use teleport. Now, you stabilize this lane a little bit. Now, this is much better. The way you're playing this, you're sitting back here. You're queuing side to side. Just taking a chill pill. It's all good. This is what we should be doing right from the start. Yeah, nice. You're walking back like that. Beautiful. Much better. So there you missed. You didn't really tether correctly the W, but, you know, not too bad. Now, and this is the exact problem. And now look at this, Jack. You're sitting in a lane with no HP, no corrupting pots, no mana, and you're not going to be able to punish this guy with teleport now. Because, like, you can't get the wave out. So, if I were to go back, and in a perfect world, like, yes, this may be hard for you to execute on, and this is something that will take time. And this is why I'm such a big advocate for TP in the first place. Let's envision a different universe where you stayed on much more mana than this. The wave actually came out all the way up here. Let's just say ignore this. All this trading happened. Now let's fast forward just a little bit. Now this next wave coming, no, not this wave. Sorry, the next wave after this. So the next wave after this is a cannon wave, right? So if you were full mana, what I would do is like, all right, well, Leblanc, I'll be full, ideally around 90% HP, full mana, just chunking out this guy with Qs. If I were to just use my Q, W on the wave, auto attack, even if Leblanc W's me and gets me to half HP, I don't care. And then I just walk out of vision, even if I don't get all the wave, maybe I get half of the wave. I walk out of vision, TP and base around the corner and TP. This Leblanc isn't going to be able to shove out the next wave in time because then this next wave is a cannon wave. You're going to be able to TP back to lane with full resources, full refresh corrupting pot with a dark seal, potentially a null magic as well. This guy's going to be completely stuck in lane. So where either you can shove, deny him a bunch of CS, or freeze on your side and deny him equally a same amount of CS. And then you've just then got a massive advantage for free. And then you stayed healthy in the early lane, and then you can maybe go get deep woods and get a pink, whatever. And the laning phase is completely different. Now, because you don't do that, you stay on low HP, you've heavy traded like this, you're in this rough spot. And then finally you do end up playing it slow. I don't know what was going on, but you do notice how you just you slow down the lane a little bit and you just farm like this, which is not optimal, but I mean, should have been done a lot earlier, but you can kind of see this is not too bad. And then because of this, you actually make yourself quite vulnerable, and then you die on the back end. And he ends up just dying. So that's all the result of, not playing trades appropriately. Now, let's fast forwarding a little bit here. You TP back. Beautiful. You deny him a little bit of CS. Now, this LeBlanc's really bad at CSing. Like, he's got no CS. So, you know, you've got an up on him. Unfortunately, you didn't have enough gold for a pink. Now, you get this wave in, and this is where you need to be using your wards. Something to note, maybe because of the way you played the early lane, but just as a concept, maybe we can apply into other games, is that you've actually been sitting on 2 trinkets for an extremely long time. So it's extremely inefficient to sit on 2 trinkets. You always want to be having at least 1 on the map. So eventually you walk over here, you get a nice little ward, beautiful. Come back to lane. Now, this is where you should absolutely dominate the lane. Like, there's nothing this guy should do now. You have vision out. You have your lost chapter. You're ready to go right now. And also, you should be able to swap to heal right now. Or barrier. Heal or barrier, whatever you need. I don't know what you swap to, and if you don't swap yet, but you could have swapped there.
I thought it was 6 minutes.
Yeah, we're at 6 minutes.
Oh, that's the streamline.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Alright, let me go back to this. I want to see what the hell happens here. How do you solo kill him? Okay, yeah, well, you just stat check him at this point. And
yeah,
he just
the last
dies.
chapter.
Yeah. Well, he just donates you a kill. It is what it is. There's not really too much. Just take that one. Not really too much. So that was fine. You played that fine. You get this in. Done. Next. You get your... Okay, this is... So you get your... Blasting Wand. Now, this is good when you're ahead, but if this lane was a little bit more even, I actually like going like Null Magic and a Dark Seal. Because... Null Magic eventually working into Mercury trades against LeBlanc is really good, but I mean, given that you're pretty far ahead right now, this guy hasn't CS very well, and you know, you've solo killed him, you've got heal, I think you can probably just get away with blasting on, so that's completely fine. Now, rinse repeat. Ideally, you should be coming with a pink, but again, you didn't have enough gold, unfortunately. Maybe you could have sold this biscuit, but I don't even know if that would have given you enough, but ideally, you would have a pink. But now we see Yi. Now look at this. Because you've put this ward earlier, again, like tying back, reiterating that point that I said earlier, this ward isn't just good for you. This is good for every single person on the map. Now, Mordekaiser can potentially set up a counter gank. Darius knows he's an isolated 1v1 top, so he doesn't have to be scared to ganks. Bot lane's going to know where Yi parts after this. Maybe he just parts into topside here, so they know they're going to be isolated bot 2v2. This information, this is why deep wards are so crucial as a mid laner, and this is how wards can... passively win you games. And that's just my experience with it anyway. Now, something to note, actually, quickly. And I found this is something that can be really helpful. When you see the jungler, I don't expect you to press tab and count his CS, look at, like, know when he's going to base, etc. Like, that's really advanced stuff that I don't expect. What I do expect from you at a very simple level, very basic level, is pan your camera to this location as soon as you see the jungler show. Now, what is this going to show? You're going to look for his HP and his mana. Now, what you'll realize over time and how this will be important, why this is important for you, is because there will be a lot of times where maybe you're playing a different champion, but maybe in other circumstances, this guy is actually low. Maybe you're versing a jungler who's actually quite low on his jungle. And maybe he's actually very low, and he actually starts, maybe he gets this raptor camp, and he actually walks over here, and he's maybe on 20% HP, whatever it is. The importance of actually doing this is that this is going to allow you to either know, I should be leaning, knowing my jungler's in the area and a potential skirmish is going to break out, knowing that you're going to get to the fight first, or maybe you had already shoved in this wave and you can just lean in and potentially cheese him in the jungle. It's just a very good habit to get into. Is just recognize, pan your camera, take a second to pan your camera, absorb that information, and what does that mean for you? Now, I actually think you didn't do this, and you were focusing on your lane too much, because then Yi just shows in river here, and starts fighting this Mordekaiser, and you don't help him at all. And your Mordekaiser actually dies. Now, you know, this may be something that's uncharacteristic of you. I'm not sure. But from the amount of games that I've watched you play, I've watched you play 4 or 5 games. Jungle awareness is something that I feel like you potentially might actually have to make your maybe your number one learning objective, because I think it really is effective. In the next VOD we'll get into, we'll highlight that more, but I think this was a really good introductory. One of the reasons, as you know, you didn't I don't think you absorbed that information when he showed here, which then resulted in a skirmish breaking out, which then resulted in your jungler actually dying and you missing out on a free kill here. So it is what it is. So your team ends up cleaning him up. And it's fine. Now you know the jungler's dead. Isolated 1v1. This is really good for you. Go for a QW. Nice. Back up. And then you go for another Q there. Nice. So you're absolutely dominating this guy. Abusing your range. This is nice. Really nice. Beautiful. Now, fast forwarding this just a touch. Csing's caught up a little bit, not too bad. Now you get a free plate, I believe. Now Yi ends up just showing in the river there, I believe. It's fine. One more wave. Plate recall. Alright, nice. So you actually base on not enough for Ludens, but, you know, I think it's good to get a reset in since you have no corrupting pots, no pink ward. Now, this is a big mistake in your itemization. You actually go for a second blasting wand.
Yeah, I kind of entered that one.
I can see what you were trying to think of. It was like, what should I buy here?
I bought it, and then I left the platform, and I thought that were Mertrez. I was like, Mertrez would have been better. I just wanted to try and push the lead.
You actually, I don't even think you can. You can't get Merchandise because you actually have magical footwear. So you actually couldn't buy boots.
Oh.
That's why you bought it. So,
that makes sense.
Actually, there's 2 things I want to talk about here. This is really interesting. So, one, I think you should also be okay just to buy null magic and a pink. I think that's completely fine. And you may have 500 gold left over, whatever. Just leave it at that. Now, this is a concept that I really want you to understand. Now, I'm going to bombard you with a lot of stuff here, Jack, to try and get the most value out of this. And maybe you can watch this session over a lot of times, just to, because not everything I teach you in this session will be applicable straight away. Like, you're going to have to pick 1 or 2 things, and we can talk about that at the end of the session, which 2 things that I recommend to go over and make a specific learning objective. But for this session, I kind of want to go over as much as I can, give you as much value as possible. Now, what do we note here? If we go back just a little bit, what do we see? Leblanc ends up recalling straight away. So what does that mean? This means that Leblanc is going to have tempo onto you. So each second that you stay in lane going for this tower, you have to be consciously thinking, okay, LeBlanc's going to have tempo on me. Now, why is it important? It's because now that should absolutely dictate your next decisions with where you ward or your pings when you're in base. Now, you get this. This is fine. I think this is the correct play. I'm not saying it's the wrong play, but you do need to adapt now. So you base, and now LeBlanc's already back in lane.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm you, and I want to isolate this 1v1, and I don't want to give this LeBlanc any opportunity, sometimes what I like to do is actually like to chuck a lane ward here, just as I recall. And what this is going to do is actually going to see which side LeBlanc roams to, and then it's actually, then I can ping out LeBlanc. Because now my sole focus, if I'm Oriana in this position, is, I'm like, I don't want this LeBlanc to get anything. I don't want this LeBlanc to get a single roam off. So right now, I'm already pinging. If I were you, I'd be spam pinging. Missing. Like, you know, get, like, everyone care. Like, chill. Like, I'd be so scared right now. And because you're in base, like, thinking about your items or something, like, I don't know what you're thinking about. Now, LeBlanc ends up showing mid again, but you haven't done a single ping. And I can't tell if they're your pings now. But again, it should have been way earlier that LeBlanc was already going to have move and LeBlanc was going to get to this fight. Now, maybe there's not much you could have done here. And yes, this specific example, like, they don't even get a kill, I think. But the premise still stands that the amount of times where I've actually consciously thought, this guy has tempo on me, so I can ping him out to prevent him from getting a gank, has actually saved my side laners thousands of times. Like, not even exaggerating, thousands of times. So Does that make sense as a concept?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, conversely, what do we see here? Well, LeBlanc's top, and you're already back in mid. So this means you have tempo. So you can do something with this. You can either... You have a few decisions. You can push, get deep vision. You can push and roam bot. You can push and get plates. There's so many things you can do right now. So now it's go time. It's your time. You should be thinking about what are you doing next? Like, how are you gonna create some form of advantage? You know LeBlanc's going to be topside. In my opinion, then you actually see LeBlanc still stay top. So now this is all on you. That you can just get plates. This is so free. And your bot lane died anyway, so it is what it is. But you're getting so far ahead. And I actually like the way you're playing this game. It's very selfishly focusing on like getting plates, focusing like very greedily on that.
Yeah, I didn't want to follow LeBlanc to all the chaos.
Yeah, I think that's done really well. My only concern here, though, is that I think you had a very good opportunity here, especially after you get that plate, is lean onto bot side and actually get a ward on Raptors. And because you actually are a little bit vulnerable here. But I actually thought LeBlanc would base as well, so I don't blame you for this. But I do feel, though, walking into bot side here and just chucking a pink and then chucking a ward here would be really helpful, because the reason I actually like to do this sometimes before the enemy comes back in lane is if I do it before the enemy comes back in lane, then I know I already have the vision set up just to stay and poke them as soon as they get back into lane. So as soon as this LeBlanc would get back to lane, I know I could just lean on one side and play aggressively. But if this LeBlanc comes back to lane, I'm going to be scared straight away and then have to think, oh, maybe I should get vision. But then I'm either going to die or I'm not going to be able to pressure him as much as I would have been able to. So this is another reason as to why it's good to kind of do your vision first, then play aggressively. And now because of that, you end up dying, giving a shutdown. Alright, so we'll quickly go over this next few parts before we get into the next VOD. Fast forward here, you get a nice little ward, deep wards, beautiful. Now that's much better. So you've come back to lane, you've got the vision first, and then now you're starting to assert your dominance on the lane. Beautiful. And now notice how much easier it is now. You've got this isolated one. You're abusing your lane. I mean your range. Now the game's just so easy now. And this is the strength of Oriana in low elo as well. Like if you play good ward appropriately, you see Yi here, so you kind of back up, help him out, and then you end up killing him on the back end. And this is, like I was saying, this is the beauty of Oriana and low elo. It's like people can't really deal with your range very well, and because he scales so well as well, it's just you just have so many opportunities to do things and scale into the mid game really well. And anyway, beautiful. And then you end up basing for Ludens after this, I believe, and then get mid tower. So I think this is the most. I kind of want to go over the first 15 minutes. Actually, last thing, you come back. Oh, you do this TP play. So I want to talk a little bit about this before we jump into the next VOD. Now, again, I like to make decisions coherent with the identity of my champion. This guy, I mean, you don't know what this guy's sums are. He's a quite fed, he's a very fed MF, and you're also an Oriana with no ultimate and no flash. So, yes, maybe you can look for this play. But for me, like the way I like to play in low elo especially, and just even in high elo as Oriana, I love to put myself in positions where I'm very selfish. I would actually just prefer to even just TP mid, or even just walk mid and get this tower first, assert a bit of control, then start to play front to back fights or something like that. Because you can shut down MF later on anyway. You're so fed. Like, you don't really need to make this sort of risky play. Something to note in the sense of Oriana. When you have no flash and no, like, defensive summoners, because Oriana's such an immobile champion, already in my mind, and my ultimate's down as well, and you're putting yourself in such a shitty situation. Like, you're going to be very close to this guy, you're going to be very vulnerable, you have no... You can't even 100 to 0 him because you have no ultimate. I just feel like this is putting yourself in a situation that is not too... It's very risky, is what I'm saying, and you don't need to do that. Like... That's the way I love the exact same when I played Twisted Fate as well. I try to make plays that are like 100%, that I know they're going to work, because I know that if I play my own game, value my CS, value getting gold, killing my lane opponent 1v1, keeping this an isolated 1v1, getting as fed as I can into mid-game, I can deal with whoever it is who tries to face me in mid-game anyway. So that's kind of like my mindset. And then here, because you TB behind, with no ult, no flash, they just flash away. You get stunned, and then they run away, and then you actually get yourself in a sticky situation. And you end up dying on the back end here, I believe. Yeah, like, look how hard this is for you to fight like this. You have no ultimate. This is exactly what Leblanc wants, some chaos. You're caught with no flash right now. And then you end up dying and throwing your lead completely. So now, from 2 mistakes, you've actually, all your deaths are just been really, you can see how all your deaths are very avoidable. And basically, they're all on you. They were all on, nothing to do with your team. And people will look at this game a lot of the time and be like, oh, my bot lane lost, you know, like my jungler got into Mordecai's jungle, like whatever. This game, you 3 deaths, this is the difference between you winning a game and losing. Like, every death, I feel like on Oriana specifically and a lot of mages, every death is like a strike. It's like baseball or whatever. How many, what is it, like 3 strikes and you're out?
Yeah.
It's like on a major specifically on TF, it's like 2 strikes and you're out. Like 2 deaths, or maybe 3. It's like 2 or 3 deaths on majors. It's like 1 death, strike, it's really not good. 2 deaths, strike, really bad. 3 deaths, like fuck. Like I'm in a really bad spot. And that's why if you play a game and you actually minimize your deaths, focus on your farm, generally, there's a direct correlation between the amount of games I will win and it's an obvious correlation, and the amount of deaths, your ability to minimize deaths. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's go into another game quickly. How many people we got watching at the moment? Holy shit, we have 125 viewers at the moment, man. It's popping off.
It is.
Alright. Sorry guys, I'm not too active in the chat at the moment because I'm really focusing on coaching this guy, but I'll answer, actually what I'll do, I'll answer some questions at the end. This is actually gold elo, I believe. Gold, but this guy's gold, platinum, you're a gold platinum player, so alright, so this next VOD we're going to go over is this one. This one's so interesting to me. This was a perfect example of a game where you were in complete control and you threw it away through a few lacking of these core fundamentals. And this one's a really good one to watch. I like it. So where are you from, man, by the way? I didn't even ask. But...
I'm Maryland.
Maryland. That's is that near? Is Maryland near is that near Texas? Okay, no.
No, it's DC. It's the.
I'm so bad with American geography.
Yeah.
I don't know shit. So wait, what is DC is on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, East Coast.
Alright, brilliant. I got that right. I know that because I know LA is on West Side.
Mm-hmm.
The West Side, alright. Cool. So you can see this one all good, like.
Yeah, it just loaded right now.
Okay.
It's just caught up on the stream.
Okay, no problem. So so this one again, quickly going through the same thing. Exactly what I go through if I'm playing in any elo, and specifically when I'm playing a mage, why it's very important. What do we see? We see Ari's gone to combat spell. And you've gone teleport, which straight away says to me that, all right, well, I don't want to give this guy an opportunity to use his combat spell. I want to continue to do the same things. Extend the laning phase, play slow trades with my Q and mana flow band. Again, hold enough mana so then when I want to recall, I can use my mana on the wave, get the wave in, get a nice little tempo base, come back with teleport, and just completely lock him in lane or deny him a bunch of CS. Then I like to think about the jungle matchup. Then what do we see? We see a Kha'Zix down here, and we see a Zac. Now, Kha'Zix's early ganks are pretty average, especially because you don't really have much gank setup, so that's for fine. He's basically going to be farming. Zac, on the other hand, early game, level 3, level 4 is not too bad for you because, again, his jump range is very average. But Zac is actually an extremely threatening champion onto Oriana, especially like level 5, level 6, level 7, like it's pretty bad for Oriana. So you got to be very, very careful. That champion is a big counter. Now, you play this early laning phase really well. I like how you're actually standing here, by the way. I love how you're standing outside the wave because this says to me that, okay, you're making Ari make a choice. Does Ari want to throw a Q onto you or just you want to throw a Q through the wave? Either way, it's completely fine because you can dodge it and then you get a nice little Q off. You're thinning the wave at the same time as Ari. This is really beautiful. Perfect landing so far. Abusing your range. Not standing next to the wave, so you're constantly making her make a choice. I like that. You're poking slowly. Tethering. Beautiful. And now you've got the wave in a really good spot outside your tower. Nice. Again, missing a little bit of CS here, but it's not too bad. I missed 2 or 3 CS. Now you've got your ball out. Okay, you're missing a lot of CS. And again, this ties into one of your underlying problems, which is your CSing. And again...
Yeah.
Won't go on too much, but again, CSing has a snowball effect on the game. The more you CS, the easier you'll find your games. Now, you're playing you're abusing your Q range, which is really, really good. I like that. And your wave's in a nice spot. I love what you do here, by the way. I do this all the time as well with Orias. Like, I have the wave on my side, and then I actually stand outside the wave and then walk past and actually abuse them with Q. Because then they're like, shit. Well, I'm in a really bad spot. I'm really vulnerable, so I can't use my abilities on just Oriana. So I need to make a choice. Do I need to, like, just miss a bunch of CS and leave it frozen, or do I just take Q to the face? So I like what you're doing here. It's just really solid laning. Let's just get rid of this chat thing. So this is nice. You're getting a nice little poke off, standing outside the wave again. Beautiful. Now, you do use a lot of mana in this early portion in a second. Like, you don't just kind of use abilities with your mana flow. Now, straight away, when he uses Charm like that, I'm assuming it's like a go sign for you because he has no self-peel, and that's what you do. You start walking up. Beautiful. Q, auto, W. Nice, nice, nice. This is a little bit intense. I would actually probably just, after that trade, walk back and kind of take it a little bit slower, but you decide to continue to go. He misses the E. And then you get a kill, solid kill, which is really, really nice. I like this. The only problem with this thing, though, when I was a little bit scared...
It's at 240.
Yeah, like, I was quite scared here, like, especially. Like, I liked that you did this nice little chase and you got him really low. I would have stopped here, though. I wouldn't have continued to chase this guy. Like, I would just be like, alright, I got that nice little trade. Especially now, just like, let's get the hell out of here. Like, let's back. I'm scared. If I get charmed here, like, I can just die to gank so easily. Zach gank so easily. But anyway, you get the kill. Well played. Fast forwarding a little bit. Beautiful. Now, so your first portion of this lane is played really well. It's after this first base is where shit hits the fan. So you come back. You've got a nice little bit of gold here. I actually think you could... So I think you should, instead of a Sapphire Crystal, I think you should go a... You definitely need Dark Seal and a Pink Ward here, regardless. Like, I think... What do you end up going? Here we go, Dark Seal, Pink Ward, beautiful, much better. And that's way better.
Yes.
Nice. So what do we see here? We see that we don't really know where Zach is. We see that you have 2 trinkets. You have a Pink Ward. And we want to isolate this 1v1 because you absolutely dominate him now. Like, Ori's really good into Ari. But again, this one little part here, when the wave's actually built into you like this is where you need to be quite careful and actually respect. Like, this is when it's Ari's time to actually play quite aggressively, knowing that if an extended trade happens here, you're going to take all these minion aggro as well. So this is really not where you want to be trading. This is where you just want to take, like, chill, let it come into you. It's not a big deal. And what do? Look at this. You take a trade right under the minion wave and you take a big chunk here. It's just not too bad, though. Okay. This is where it gets interesting. So, a few little things here. What was the reason why, before I think I put my opinion on this, why didn't you actually walk up here and chuck a Pink Ward?
Hey, give me a second for the stream to catch up.
Okay, no problem. Is the stream that far behind now?
It's like 10 seconds.
Oh, shit.
Alright, I'm there. I just wanted to use my 2. Get rid of the 2 on the trinkets. I'm pretty sure. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't feel like overlapping vision with the pink and pixel bush or anything.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. A few things to think about. So you're, especially in this lane specifically, like Ari again is a very 2v2 oriented champion, right? Ari can't solo kill you. I don't feel like if you tether, take slow trade, she's always going to be poked. She needs the jungler to come. Now, I was going to actually compliment you. I was going to kind of compliment you on the only reason I was thinking this that you didn't put a pink here was that I was thinking, well, maybe Jack actually saw that his jungler was on Krugs and was potentially looking to reset, so his jungler wouldn't be here to defend it and it'd be hard. But I think that you weren't actually thinking that, and like you said, you weren't really thinking that. But I think just pinking there is fine, because what you can actually do, I mean, I just like pinking there because most likely this game you're going to be playing towards bot side. Your bot lane's already winning. Dragon's going to be coming up. It's just a really solid pink. What I would then do, I would actually potentially just not use a normal trinket. I would hold it for a little bit longer and actually walk up and try and chuck one on the Raptors. Because I feel like that's the only place Zach is going to be able to gank you from is this actually Raptor pit. If you have this Raptor pit with a vision trinket, like I think you're all set. So, and I feel like that was just a really good opportunity to chuck a pink ward there, but, you know, it's not the end of the world. Because I just feel like that ward as well, it doesn't really give you any safety. Like, Zac can still just gank you now from either side. Like, you're still extremely vulnerable. That gank doesn't really do anything. Like, I could even recommend chucking a ward over this, like, wall kind of near the blue. You'll see it on the stream in a second, but, like, just you need one side that you can heavy lean to. And right now, that ward doesn't really give you a side to actually lean onto. Now, okay, getting back into the laning phase here. Not too bad. Kind of taking your trades, trying to tether. Now, this is where, again, this is where your problem lies, Jack. One of your problems, sorry. Now, I like these extended trades where you're, these trades where you're abusing your range advantage. But one habit I see you get into is that you get cocky, or you get cocky. You feel like, I'm winning trades. Let's increase the pace of this laning phase. But your mindset isn't on taking 100-0 trades. So what actually happens? You get cocky. You're poking him, and then you get into his range. And notice you're taking these very heavy trades where you're getting up in his face, trading a lot of HP for a lot of HP. Like, this sort of trade, yes, it's not terrible, but it just really increases the chances of you getting ganked. It increases your vulnerability. Now, Ari's going to hit 6 soon with Ignite. It's going to give her an opportunity to potentially set up a kill on you as well. I just don't like that style of trading Oriana. It's just unnecessary. If you can take a trade where you don't need to take any damage, like, why not take that trade? That's like the way I view playing any sort of like long-range mage. And just basically, and now you kind of used all 3 corrupting pots. He still has pots. You're taking these trades, whatever. He misses his charm again. This whole time, I'm thinking, wait, you're just dead. Like, I just feel like you're here. Your jungler's in base. You have no vision really properly to lean on either side. Like, this whole time, you could have been dying. You could be dead to a gank. So right now, now, especially that Ari's low, it's not too bad. So you can kind of push up. So you should just be looking for a tempo reset here. There's no way you can punish this guy.
Yeah.
Like, you've got this habit where you're just kind of looking at this lane as an isolated 1v1. You're not really taking into account all the other pieces of information, like the junglers and wards and stuff like that. And then you just kind of, even if you don't get solo killed here, like, you're going to die to Zac anyway. So this is a result of 2 things. This is a result of you taking heavy trades, playing the game way too fast, not valuing tempo bases. Imagine what would happen here, Jack, if imagine this. Imagine if you took this awesome trade, then you just focused all your attention on this wave here. Use all your abilities like you do here.
And just reset.
yes, this Ari will get all this farm under tower, but who cares? You're going to get a full tempo reset on this guy. You're not even going to have to use TP, or you can use TP if you want to, and lock him in lane even longer, or deny him even more CS, or you can just save your TP for another tempo base in the future. Again, I just always love to tie this back to that underlying mindset, where it's so interesting. It's like, a lot of the low elo players feel like they have to do something special to win a game. They feel like they have to solo kill, or they have to do some crazy plays, and honestly, that's just not the case, especially when you're playing these sorts of champions. Maybe if you're playing a Fizz, or, you know, you're playing like a Kiana or something like that. Yes, maybe you have to play quite aggressively and make these crazy, you go for these solid kills. But as Oriana, or a majority of league champions anyway that scale somewhat decently, even this Ari doesn't even have to heavy trade with you. She should be playing defensively to level 6. Then Zach can come and just kill your ass because you're playing so aggressively anyway. So either way, like, a huge trend I see is like, people feel the need to do this crazy shit. It's like they don't. Like, just slow it down. Take 100 to 0 trades. Pick a side to lean on. Play appropriately with vision. And again, playing it coherently with abusing the strengths of your champion. And I always want to tie it back to this because, and it seems, yes, very obvious in hindsight here, Jack, where, like, we can look at this from the safety of this board and be like, you know, backseat game, Jack, why couldn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? It's so easy. But it really is that simple. And I'm all about making it as simple as possible for you to really understand, like, look how easy it is. You can do this every game. And this is how I, like, when I play on my unranked account to Challenger series, like, I don't even play well. Like, I just play average. I just farm. And then the enemy just, like, booms. Like, that's generally what happens in 90% of games. And this is what I talk about mid-fundamentals.
Make the mistake.
Yeah, people lose games because they overforce, or they try to do something crazy. They don't actually just stick to the mid-fundamentals. And this is why I say mid-fundamentals are so important, because if you can do this, then you have these really solid fundamentals. Then over time, you can start to push your limits a little bit more. Maybe you can play a little bit more aggressive, knowing that you've ticked all the boxes. I've got the vision. I'm taking trades coherent with my champion. Then slowly over time, you can start to get a little bit more creative. Then you can start to do some more crazy shit that will maybe allow you to get to Diamond 1, Master Tier Challenge, or whatever. But majority of the time, if you play this way, this will easily get you to Diamond. This will get any player to D4. Like, to get to Diamond 4, you just got to play normally. You just got to play stock standard League of Legends. Anyway, that's how I found it to be. So, fast forwarding a little bit here, you die, again, as a result of either lack of wards or, you know, heavy trading not coherent with Oriana's identity. You come back, you got a pink ward. Now this is where you need to get this vision out and start isolating this 1v1. So I feel like here you should be putting a ward here. I still feel like, because especially against Zach, once you have this Raptor area warded, I feel like you can just hard lean to top side and have a pink on bot side. You can actually have both sides warded here. But this vision you put out on bot side is also fine. It just means that you still might have to be a little bit careful, because Zach can jump over this wall from all the way near Wolves, potentially. But, you know, it is what it is. That's why I kind of prefer top side. But, push here. Looks like you don't want to follow Ari, which I can completely understand, because, again, this sort of fight is not good for you. So I like what you do here. You just stick to mid, continually get plates, focus on your farm. Other people may criticize you for saying, no, you should follow, but, like, no, like, you're just gonna get caught. Like, you have no flash. You're a piece of shit. You don't even have your lost chapter yet. Like if you follow that Ari, you're probably just gonna die anyway. So I like your discipline. This is the discipline that I'm talking about. This is what I really like. And you're getting spam pings at fuck it. Like, you will carry these guys later down the track. But my issue with this, though, is notice how you're super vulnerable right now. If I'm you right now, I'm, like, shit scared, like, with Zach ganks. Because this vision on bot side doesn't really give you the safety that you need. I personally feel like. But, then I think he bases, you push this out. Ari's roaming, trying to do all this stuff. You get a nice little do you get a tempo base? No. Okay. I just want to talk about this before we go on to the next VOD here. So you decide to go for a chunk onto this Ari. I think this is fine, given that, I mean, I still would have went for a tempo base, because remember, again, what does tempo allow you to do? If you just base right now, like, you can come back to lane before she won't even finish clearing these creeps, nearly. Like, yeah, maybe she'll maybe get this creeps, but then she will have to reset, and then you're going to come back with full resources, be able to put a bunch of deep wards, and potentially even roam or get a whole nother plate on your own. Now, you have no corrupting pots, you have no flash, and, you know, there's no way you're going to... I mean, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to kill this Ari, given the threat that Zac has onto you anyway. So I just feel like this is, again, that mindset where it's like, you feel like you have to go for a solo kill or have to do something crazy. You're not really playing for your item spikes, you're not really playing... You're trying to feel like you have to do something special. But anyway, you get this nice little ultimate. You nearly kill him. You blow his flash. Brilliant. That was really good. You've got his flash now. But it still says to me now that you're extremely vulnerable. Like I was about to say. And then you just die again. So, and I think this ties into just... Yeah, just you're not looking at the lane in terms of the 2v2. Now, I want to add a little caveat to this before we jump on to the next VOD. Because I can easily just say here, oh... Yeah, respect the jungler, like whatever that means. And again, I really like to bring things back into a practical, pragmatic sense. And this also kind of ties into, you know, that from level 1, you know, when I said, before we even jumped into the game, I looked at tap and I looked at the jungle matchup. Now, I looked at the jungle matchup and I said, okay, what did I say earlier on? I said, yes, Zac level 3, level 4 is not too bad, but once he starts getting level 5, level 6, level 7, that's where you're going to have to be quite scared. So my habit, Jack, as a mid laner, and especially when I'm playing immobile mages, is I clearly identify what levels I should start to be respectful. Now, it's going to be different every single game. So if you're versing a Shaco, like you said, or a Twitch, level 2, you're going to have to be playing quite respectfully. Maybe you're versing a Rek'Sai, level 3, you're going to have to play respectfully, at least level 3. Now, this should dictate how you play the lane. And I don't just recommend that you spend, like, you know, you don't just think about it once at the start of the game and hope that it sinks into your brain and then, you know, you're going to play perfectly. No, that's not the case. Every single portion of the lane, when I play anyway, I'm always thinking, what can I, like, if I'm in, like, this situation over here, I'm thinking, well... I'm always thinking, what am I doing? What am I playing for? I'm either doing this. I'm either looking to pressure this guy 1v1 in an isolated 1v1. So I'm thinking, well, is this an isolated 1v1? Does the enemy jungle actually threaten me? Do I have this appropriate vision to actually isolate this 1v1? In this specific example, no. Because Zac has such a big engage range that it's just simply not. So if that's the case, Jack, then it's okay to just accept reality. Alright, well, I can't really pressure Ari. I'm just going to chill, let Ari push out, hold the wave in the middle. You don't if you can't do something, it's okay to just, you know, just accept reality. It is what it is. I can't pressure. Let's wait for another opportunity in the future. Maybe I have to wait for another reset to get some more wards, wait for my trinket to come up, whatever it is, or wait for the jungle to show on a side lane where you can play aggressive. So it's something that I recommend that is, and I think this will probably be so far from what I've seen in your gameplay, I guess there's a lot we can work on, but the first 2 things that I would implement is 1, taking trades coherent with the identity of Oriana and your champion. So taking, you know, you want to be abusing your range advantage, playing short trades, 100-0 trades. The second, which kind of ties into that with CS, so really prioritizing CS over poke, which is, you know, in terms of priorities. But thirdly, you should be constantly assessing the threat of the jungler on your lane. That actually soaks up such a massive portion of my mental capacity. I always think, what's the jungler can this jungler kill me? Because a lot of the time you'll actually find, Jack, that the jungler won't threaten you. Like, a lot of the time you actually find maybe you're visiting a Kane or a Graves or, you know, something a really far behind jungler that actually doesn't kill you, in which you can just ignore it. But as long as you're thinking about that process, you're going to be completely fine. Now, I just want to quickly go over one. I don't know how long have we been talking for? I want to quickly go over one more, if that's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
I know it's getting. I know I don't want to drag it on too long because there's a lot of information, but everything makes sense so far.
Yeah.
Cool. Just let me know if I'm talking too fast, by the way, and I can slow it down a little bit. Holy shit, we have 334 people.
Yeah. Quite a lot.
Hopefully you're not... Like, I don't even know what it would feel like for you, just getting roasted. Getting roasted in front of all these people. Alright. Let me make sure my... Yeah, I think it's on the right thing. Now, this one, I don't know if you remember, this was a bit of a rough game. Remember, this was the Oriana versus Karthus?
Yeah.
This one was a bit of a roughie. So, I kind of wanted to highlight... something within this one. And this is actually super interesting the way... I kind of wanted to kind of dig a little deeper in terms of what you're thinking within this game specifically. But, alright. Let's just dive straight in. So, but actually, before we dive straight in, what is the exact same thing that we do every single game? Number one, jungle matchup. And number two, summoner choice. So, what do we see? Yi versus Echo. So, you have the Echo, they have a Yi. So, which means it's probably going to be, I mean, you're going to be pretty isolated from this Yi. Like, Yi doesn't really have much gank threat. He's going to be just farming, doing his own thing. Karthus, on the other hand, has a exhaust. A combat spell, and you have TP. So straight away I'm thinking, well, you know what, like, you know, he's got a combat spell. I don't want to give him an opportunity to use that. Same thing. But then I like to quickly think about the 1v1. So what are the strengths of Oriana? Well, generally the strength of Oriana is her range. But Karthus, this is exact same for any other, when you're versing another high range mage. Vel'Koz, Xerath, Victor, Syndra, any of these champions, your strength now isn't... I mean, one of your strengths is your range, but now it's not really a strength that you can abuse anymore, right? Because Karthus can just I'm pretty sure... Yeah, he has equal, if not more range than you, which says something.
More DPS with it.
Yeah, and more DPS with it. So what does that say? It's like, okay, well, you can't really use that anymore. That's not really a strength. So what's the next strength? Well, I find personally in a lot of these matchups where I'm getting outranged, a lot of the time I try to slow down the pace of the lane, and then once I can get my lost chapter, I feel generally Oriana out spikes or can out damage pretty much most mid champions in the game at lost chapter. So if I'm versing a Vel'Koz, you know, Victor, or probably like Vel'Koz, Xerath, Karthus, any of these very long range mages, my mindset is, okay, if I can't poke you with my range, then I'm just going to farm, play very, very defensively, wait till my lost chapter, extend this laning phase, come back with teleport, then I can start to play my game, because then I can just out DPS you, I can just stat check you. So what happens in this game is that you don't recognize that as your win condition, and you're trying to abuse your range here, but Karthus also just does that better. And this is exact same how, if you're Oriana versus, you know, all those champions, they just do the thing better than you. So just slow down the pace of the game. Like, yes, this guy's going to be focusing hardcore on poking you, and this level 1's not too bad. You get a bit of poke off. But right now, what is Karthus going to do if he shoves you in? Like, what's he going to do with his priority anyway? Nothing. And what does that mean for you anyway? If he's all the way up here pushing under tower like this is just going to make him extremely vulnerable to ganks eventually anyway. So like, the point I want to get across in this video specifically is, just because every champion doesn't just have one strength. Yes, the range, I've been honing on a lot about the strength of Oriana being her range, but a lot of people in the Discord as well ask me, and the YouTube comments ask me, like, what do I do when I'm versing a higher range mage? It's the exact same premise when you're playing a champion like Ryze into X champion, or, you know, Ori into a higher range champion, or whatever it is. If you can't abuse your strength and you get outranged, then you need to slow down the pace of the lane, farm up as much as you can, get to your power spikes, and then ideally, if you minimize, stay full HP, stay out of their range, focus on CS, they're either, one or two things is going to happen. They're either going to be so preoccupied with poking you that you're actually going to be up in CS over them, or they're going to get so preoccupied in terms of playing aggressive that they're going to overextend in the lane, and they're just going to die to jungle ganks. And this is actually what I've realized over time playing a lot of the game as well is, and it may sound a very boring or non-sexy way of playing League of Legends, but I found that playing slow and patiently and playing for spikes, if you play that late and doing the mid fundamentals, people get frustrated and they just throw yourselves at them. They throw themselves at you, sorry. And it's the exact same what you did in the last game. You were getting frustrated because the guy was taking bad trades, so you play even more aggressive, and then you just open yourselves up at ganks. And this is what I'm saying in this elo specifically, all the way up till Diamond, like mid-Diamond. People do the exact same thing. And now, look, you're giving him, in a second, you'll see as this lane plays out, you'll slowly realize that he just has better wave clear than you early game. He can just farm a lot more efficiently. He out-damages you if you both land Qs, which is completely fine. And you're just spending so much time focusing on QWs onto him, but you're taking a lot of damage in the process. And look how much CS you've actually missed. You've got 5 CS to 21. And yeah, and again, like this is what is losing you. This is a huge portion of why you're actually losing games, is because you've just got this mindset where you just have to kill. You just have to kill the enemy. Like, you just need to slow it down, and you'll realize it's a massive change in your in the quality of your games if you just slow it down, play the game at your pace. You don't need to do anything special to win these games. Yeah, now it's 9 CS to 24. You've got 1 corrupting pot. So those sorts of trades are good. If he's going to completely ignore you, yes, then you can, go for trades onto him. But again, not at the sacrifice of CS. And I actually want to use it as an example. There's one little thing before we go into the next one. So I just wanted to highlight this one specifically. Yeah. Was, look at this. I'll show you in a second. So notice here. Where is it? Oh, wait, 1 second. So right now, Karthus walks up and goes for these Qs on these back 3 creeps. So right now you're like, okay, well that's pretty disrespectful. So I'm going to QW him, auto attack. But now because you're in that frame of mind where it's like go, it's really like what I found with a lot of players who are less experienced with the game. It's harder for them to switch their, like once they're in the go mode, like fight. It's hard for them to switch and alternate between farm mode and attack mode. So like they genuinely have this, it's like a very much a one way, it's like one way of thinking. It's like, what's the analogy? It's like driving a car. It's like they're just one gear. They're just sitting in that one gear. They can't switch up the gears. And I don't blame them. That's a very difficult thing to do. But what I'm seeing is that if your priority first was, okay, I want to make sure that I get this CS and then poke if he disrespects, you'll realize that you will just hit a lot more CS because you're prioritizing this CS over poking, which you'll see a lot more results. Now, the analogy I want to use actually for this as a concept is, I haven't really used this before in a coaching session, but I think this is the perfect moment. Is that I have this analogy of like driving a car. Now, do you drive a manual or an automatic?
Automatic.
You don't. Have you had any experience with a manual or at all? Or?
Not really, no.
No. Okay, so. Well, you understand, obviously, you have gears and stuff like that.
Yeah, I understand how it works.
And you know how you have someone who's learning a manual car and maybe they're really clunky that, they stall the car or they go in between the gears really poorly, or it just sounds really, it looks terrible, it feels terrible, just everything about it sounds really bad, right? It's just like not a very pleasant way of driving a car. Now, in League of Legends, the exact same. You've got beautiful League of Legends in the sense is that everything's a smooth transition. Everything is, it's not like jerky. You're not jerking. Like the actual experience of driving a really bad, like being in the car with someone who's very bad at driving a manual, it's very jerky. It's like all over the place. It like sounds bad. It looks bad. It's just ugly. It's not a good experience. And it's just not a pleasant driving experience at all. Whereas League of Legends, if you were a very good manual driver, it's smooth transition between the gears. It's like a flawless experience. It's just a feeling of driving it, the feeling of operating it in this way. Everything clicks together. And I feel like when I watch your gameplay specifically, Jack, it's just very jerky, forced, chaotic. Like turn here, do this, skip over gears. You're going extremely fast at some points, then extremely slow, then missing things and not processing information. It just feels like you're very tunneled, and it's without being rude, it's very ugly League of Legends. Now,
yeah,
I find the game a lot more pleasant and a lot more effective when, like, again, when you when in these reviews, and hopefully, I'm trying to reiterate the same points again, Jack, so it's so obvious to you, and the feeling when you play and when you queue up for this next game that I reckon, and the next game you play Oriana, I want you to listen, and the feeling you have of when you actually play Oriana, it will be a completely different experience. When you slow it down, take trades coherent with your champion, short 100 to 0 trades, proccing your mana flow when it's on cooldown, playing off your item spikes, holding enough mana so you can push and reset with your TP, being very disciplined with the amount of which fights that you attend to, playing off just getting to your item spikes, slow poking, isolating the lane in 1v1, solid warding. You'll find that the League of Legends experience is so pleasant. It's actually fun to play. Like, that's why I love playing TF. When you play TF perfectly, it's a very fun, enjoyable League of Legends experience. And a lot of people who play Oriana and these majors in my Discord or have problems climbing is that they make the game so hard for themselves. And I'm like, you just got to take a chill, like, just relax and smooth the whole process out and calm it down and view it. How can I play beautiful League of Legends? How can I go back to fundamentals, take a step back, and focus on these things one by one? And this is what I'm kind of trying to get at here in this specific thing here. So, in terms of... Let me switch the scene here. Now, what we can do... If we have a choice, it's up to you. We can go through... I mean, it's up to you. We can either go through another one or we can kind of finish off this video. What would you want to do, Jack?
We can go through another one. That's fine.
Alright, is there any here that you wanted to specifically, or did you want to just go through this last Oriana versus Kassadin one? Because I feel like this Oriana versus Kassadin one was played very poorly as well, by the way.
Yeah, let's go through that.
Alright, let's go through this Ori versus Kassadin. So yeah, like, I'm so excited, and I'm so excited. I think for me, in terms of, if I were to set you learning objectives, if I was in your shoes, again, like I said, it'd just be those one or two things. I would start with from scratch. I would literally start from scratch. Be like, all right, let's bring it back to. Am I on the right thing? What am I doing here? All right, I would bring it back to the taking trades coherent with my champion, and I'll just really bring it back to the fundamental. We'll talk about this actually at the end after this VOD. So, all right, this one is an Oriana versus Kassadin. Now, this is a common matchup. A lot of people ask, or people say in the community, oh, Kassadin's OP and shit like that. It's very simple to abuse. I'll break this down quickly. One last thing before we get into the gameplay. What are we going to talk about? The jungle matchup. There's a lot of Yees in your games for some reason.
Yeah, it's popular.
Oh man, Yee's so dog shit. Yi versus Echo. Again, not really too much early ganking going on, although Echo can early gank, but his damage is not going to be too high. And then you're versing a Kassadin, who obviously is taking a TP as well, so there's no real utility advantage. So generally, the way you want to play this lane specifically is because this champion is very weak, levels 1 and 2. You can build waves into them and poke them under tower. Now, what was the reason you actually warded here, level 1?
They did a little invade, and I wanted to get Raptor Vision while they were invading. And then I think I just wanted to get pushed in more. I think I was trying to freeze.
You were trying to freeze, okay.
Not really push up.
Yeah, so this is there's two ways of playing this lane matchup. I actually disagree with the way you play it, and it actually ends up being really hard because of the way you play it. Now, it's a completely different story if you have a Jarvan or an Elise or a Rek'Sai. Yes, you can hold the wave on your side early and look for a gank, but you have a Yi. And Yi's early ganks are trash. So I really would not recommend you hold the wave. And what I found specifically with this strategy of holding the wave on your side is that I found that at low elo, I don't trust my junglers to gank. So the way I like to operate my mindset in low elo is I'm going to play the way I play this lane is I don't want to rely on a single person in the game but me. I want to play as independently as possible. Now, how do you play independently as possible is you find a way or a strategy to punish the opponent while keeping yourself safe that doesn't rely on any of your opponents, which in this case is, this ward is really bad. It actually hurts you a lot. Now,
yeah.
Generally, if you want to slow push and build your wave in, you want this ward at around 230, like we spoke about, 235. So then you can, again, push up, lean to one side, and abuse this guy. Keep it in an isolated 1v1. Now, when this ward dies, it's going to die at a time at around 240 as the jungler is going to get really active. And then you're going to have no vision. So you're going to be in a really, really rough spot. This is why I hate warding level 1, guys, for everyone else watching. Warding at level 1 is a shit show, and it's bit of a bait, so I strongly recommend against that. Now, in this lane matchup, what I like to do is throw a Q all through the minions, or at least some of the minions, and to try and start to build a minion advantage. Once I can build a minion advantage, I can actually start to just... Because what's actually going to happen, if you build a minion advantage and you can start to actually walk aggressively, Kassadin's going to have to make a choice. He's going to have to either Q creeps to last hit them, or he's going to have to Q onto you, in which he's just going to miss all CS. And Kassadin really needs farm in the early game. But when you keep it in the middle, there's no real choice for Kassadin to actually make. Kassadin can just freely walk up and auto-attack creeps, because you also have to focus on your CS as well. So already, from what I've seen so far, I mean, you are building a minion advantage, but it's just not enough. And this is just allowing Kassadin to just walk up and CS his creeps pretty freely. So you're actually slow building wave right now. This is actually could be good for you. And then you get level 2. Nice. You should, and right now I'd be walking up super aggressively. Let's see what you do here. Like, I would honestly be walking all the way. I'd be walking all the way up here and playing super aggressive. You've got a built wave. You can literally be standing above the mini wave, given he's a melee champion. Level 1 and 2 is so weak. Missing a lot of CS here. Yeah. Using way too much CS. And now, you've built this wave, crashed it under tower, and for some reason you're not punishing him under tower. There's no way you should be scared. If you just hug topside like this, all the way here, there's no way you can get ganked. Echo, again, and look at the timer, 227. It's very unlikely that Echo is going to be able to get level 3 and look to gank mid before 230. 230 is even the fastest junglers do it. And looking at Echo here, look, he hasn't even finished his 3rd camp here, and it's 227. So by the time he even finishes these 3 camps, he's not even going to be anywhere near. And it just shows you a bit of the a guideline. Like 240 is like, again, most junglers around 240, but 230 is the fastest junglers.
Okay.
But yeah, you've built this wave, and again, for some reason, you were just really scared. So what was the thought process, by the way? Like, why were you scared to poke this guy under tower?
I guess I was scared of a gank.
Yeah.
I had the ward. I don't know.
Yeah. It's okay. Again, like, I just feel like, and this is interesting. You say that though. You say, yeah, I don't know, because I've actually got that response from a lot of people. I ask them about their gameplay, and they say, I don't know. And the way I interpret that, Jack, is you don't do anything purposefully, so there's no way of replicating it. That's why your games are so inconsistent. That's why you'll find that some games you pop off and you carry, some games you int. And some games you die 7 times, some games you die twice. Like, when you don't understand the underlying principles of why things are happening, there's no way of... It's very unreliable. It's a very unreliable way to improve. It means, generally, the way you're going right now, Jack, is that you're going to play 1,000 games this season, and you're probably barely going to climb. Like, you might climb a few little divisions. Like, you might get to plat 2 instead of plat 3, or you might get to plat 1. But you may... I've seen people play 1,000 games and stay in silver. I've seen people be in silver for 4 or 5 seasons in a row. Now, this is the exact core reason. This is the core fundamental reason why that's the case, is because literally what you said there is, I can ask you a question like, why did you not do this? And you can genuinely say, I don't know. And I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. This is super common in the community. This is why, and again, tying it back to like, you have to have something that you're looking to improve on. And if we're talking about jungle tracking as one of your things that, or jungle tracking of jungle awareness is one of your things to improve on, you will know, okay, great, junglers can't gank before, 2:30 at the fastest. Ideally, I want to be setting up a vision on one side around the Raptors at around, that time, around 2:30. That's going to give me a lot of vision to lean on. That's going to allow me to isolate the mid wave. Then I can start to take trades coherent with my champion's identity. Then I can start to poke this guy down, conserve my mana, look to get TP when I've got enough, when I'm ready for a really good base. Maybe I can get a tempo recall, whatever. Then you'll start to realize, oh, holy shit, this is actually a replicable thing. And every single time I verse Kassadin, Jack, the exact same things happen. I shit on the Kassadin because I do the exact same strategy. And there's no counterplay. Like, the beautiful thing is in League of Legends is that in the early game, you basically control every element of the game. And progressively, the game gets more and more out of your control. That's generally how League of Legends works. The longer the game goes, the more out of control it is. That's why I focus on the first 15 minutes so much. Because that is when you can influence the game a ridiculous amount. And, I just kind of wanted to let's let you know about that's probably another, this underlying thing. And hopefully at the end of this session, I'm hoping, and I'll send you some notes as well in the Discord about, tying this session together in terms of actionable items moving forward. But, and you can already see now, like the way this lane's played out, he's actually up 4 CS. He's got 3 corrupting pots still. He's completely now halfway to level 6 and you haven't punished him at all. And you're actually losing this lane 1v1. And you haven't got now any vision out at Echo. The lane's pushing into you right now. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to punish this Kassadin enough. Like, the lane's already lost, in my opinion. Like, you've literally already lost this laning phase. And it's been 3 minutes in the game. And this all ties into the exact same things at the start of the game, having a clear game plan. And, like, yes, it's a different story if your jungler was, a Jarvan or a Rek'Sai. You've done the right thing, because then you've hard shoved in the first 2 waves. You've bounced it. It's coming back here. It's going to be extremely vulnerable. That's great, but I just wouldn't rely on this dude to do that. And right now, you see how Kassadin leaned on bot side? I'm assuming he actually warded bot. Let me actually just toggle the vision. And he actually did. He warded. So you can actually, another thing, neat little tip you can do. When you see the jungle lean out of vision like that, you should just use the command to ping that bot side's warded. So you can tell your jungler so he doesn't waste time as well. That's a neat little tip there as well. And you know what's interesting is that if you had actually warded these Raptors, then you potentially would have seen Echo loop back after red, and you would have even potentially, that would have again gave your Yi information that where Echo is, and then Echo, he could have actually double scuttled this Echo, and then it would have meant that Darius knows it's an isolated 1v1 top, and it also knows that Echo's pathing back onto bot side, so these guys potentially have to be careful of Echo, and then it also would have given you information just to completely lean top side, knowing that Echo's rotated, like, reverse back onto his bot side jungle, and allows you to understand if I lean top side, I know I can never get ganked. So it just shows how wards can literally completely change the outcome of the early game. And now, because you haven't pinged that bot side's warded, now Yi's sitting on a ward here. And it's very difficult to set up a gank. And now, basically, Kassadin survived the whole early laning phase like this. And there's really not much you can do at this point to, I mean, yes, you can slowly recover. And, like, the thing is, in this matchup, like, you spike a lot earlier than Kassadin. You can just farm to your Lost Chapter. And at Lost Chapter, especially, you will dominate Kassadin. But, this is the prime time. This is the prime time for you to actually get your poke down. In terms of micro, Jack, you're actually pretty good. I don't think micro is an area you need to really work on. I think your micro is fine. I think it's all the knowledge around that. Because I think
except the farming part.
Yeah, but I think the farming isn't a result of your inability to hit CS. I think it's the lack of attention being put towards your CS. Now, this is actually one last thing before we end. We'll go over the early game of this game, but I haven't actually spoke about this, and this is actually a big thing I talk about a lot. Notice when the jungle shows topside, and again, remember what I said before? When the jungle shows, it's a really good habit to get into is pan your camera, press tab. In the early game, again, at your level, I don't expect you to count CS, but it's really good to pan your camera, see what buff he has, and look at his HP and mana. At a very basic level, you can actually press tab and see that he hasn't recalled yet. So you can see that he only has a Hunter's Talisman. Now, I do recommend this in all my coaching sessions, no matter what their level of play is, just to press tab and see what item they have. If this Echo doesn't have his first item yet, you know, it's 4 minutes 30 into the game, you can assume that most likely after this game,
he's gonna back out.
He's gonna base very, very soon right now. He's probably sitting on 1,000 gold. What is he on? Yeah, 885 gold. So he has to base soon. So this is the benefit now. And what does that say to you? Well, now you know Echo's top side. You can lean onto bot side. It also means that he's going to have to base soon. Yee's actually got a shit ton of tempo on this guy because he's already based. And Echo's going to have to recall again. So this lane is going to be isolated 1v1 for a long time. You can make of that as you wish. You can use that information however you'd like. All I'm saying is that processing that information and making the effort to process that information is going to help you you know, navigate this lane and decide your next steps. Now, I think you get a nice few autos. I think you've done okay to recover this lane a little bit, given that you were like 4 CS to like, I mean, you were down a lot of CS, but I think you've done okay to recover. And this is, how funny is that, Jack? Is that this has actually happened in a lot of your lanes where your early CS has been really poor, like the first base, second base, and then you actually slowly recover. Have you noticed that? These games, like the Ari game, the Leblanc game, all of them, you pretty much have shit CS for the first 5 minutes of the game, and then you recover it. And you know how, I mean, I don't know if you had the same question, but a lot of people have the same question where they ask, how do you actually have good CS throughout a whole game? Like, people always ask, like, how do you stay up and farm heading into mid-game and stuff like that? Generally, the problem isn't CS being efficient with CS at 20 minutes in the game. It's how do they maximize the amount of CS they're getting in the first 15 minutes of the game. Generally, if you CS well for the first 15 minutes of the game, that will be enough to set you up for the rest of the game. Like, you don't focusing on farming post 20 to 25 minutes is just a luxury, especially on mages. Like, generally, especially at this elo, you're just gonna be team fighting the whole time anyway. That's like that's generally that thing here. So anyway, you extend this laning phase out. Ideally, you know, you would have poked in more, but, you know, it is what it is. You get some nice little poke off. Pike ends up coming, landing a nice little hook, and ends up killing your laner for you. Nice. So, fast forwarding here. I actually think you should have just insta-recalled here, by the way. Like, let him get that kill, and just back up right now. Because right now, if you had just continued to recall, or even now, you're going to have tempo. Because it takes, I believe it takes 7 or 8 seconds to recall. And he's dead now for 14 seconds. So that means you're going to have around, you know, what's that, like 6 seconds? Of potential 6 seconds of tempo on this guy. And yes, that may seem very insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Oh my god, 6 seconds. But that's going to allow you to potentially just save your TP. And yes, you have spellbooks, so you kind of do want to use your teleport. If that's the case and you want to swap to Ignite for more kill pressure, then staying for this extra wave is probably completely fine. But, you know, in a lot of other situations, just tempo basing there, so you don't have to use your teleport is also a viable option. Now, he just TP's back, and the animation was not really showing there, which was weird, but he TP's back. I'm assuming you're staying in lane for your 1,300 gold, which is what you do, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Back up, you get your 1,300 gold. Now, this is where you should be looking to abuse this guy, so let's actually see what you do when you get back to the lane here. Now, straight away, I'm thinking you need to, you need to be isolating this lane, and so looking to get a pink ward out and a vision trinket just to try and isolate a bit. Right now, this is where you can start to abuse this guy. The wave's actually in a really good spot now. I actually wouldn't be hard shoving this guy in at the moment. Like, what's the rush? If we look at this right now, like, I mean, unless he was doing dragon, he wasn't even doing dragon. Like, right now, if you just hold your QW, this guy's not going to be able to walk up and CS, right? Like, there's no real need to just kind of shove out.
I think I was shoving to get some vision.
Okay.
But we'll see if I do that or not.
Oh, yeah, you do that. That was good. Nice. Nice. Get some vision out. I think as well, given that you're versing an Echo, you can actually just commit and put another Trinket Ward up here. So you can that can be the side that you actually lean to. Generally, as a principle, Jack, I like to put the vision on the side of my winning lane. In this case, your bot lane's kind of getting pumped. And this is interesting. This is a very unique situation because this is where your bot lane's losing, but Infernal Dragon's up. But your top lane's hard winning. So generally, as a principle, like you can apply this as you will into your games, but the way I think about vision is I want to put my pink on the side where my side's winning, because that's going to allow me to maintain my vision for the longest period of time. Because if I have this pink here, their bot lane has pressure, their jungler is most likely then going to be backing up their bot lane, their jungler is going to be backing up their bot lane, they're going to be playing for 3v3 spot, which means that pressure is going to translate into river, which means they're going to be walking up and potentially clearing this, and there's not really much you can do about it.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other hand, if you were to put your pink ward on top side here, your Darius is already winning, permanently pushing on top. I'm pretty sure Echo can't even gank this guy anymore, which means this pink's going to live there forever, which means you can basically control top side as much as you want. Now, if you did want to put wards on this side to potentially, see Echo, potentially scare away Echo from, want to contest, maybe you and Yi want to contest bot river vision so you guys can stop them from doing dragon, that's also a viable option as long as the intention's there. Like, I'm not criticizing your gameplay in this because I think it's a 50-50 choice. As long as you understand the concept of putting your pink ward generally on the side that, you can protect it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sweet. Now, you actually swap to Ignite here. And I actually like the choice of swap to Ignite because he's actually got a really bad buy. And you can abuse that hardcore. So you actually swap to Ignite here. I like that. Now, nice. He gets a poke off, auto attack. This is exactly what you want to be doing. Beautiful. Oh, dude, if you didn't use your W there and you waited for him to riff walk, you actually kill him, by the way. You use your W on the thing. But, it's not too bad. I like the aggressive, the mindset behind that play. Very aggressive. You notice he has poor items. It is what it is. Now, this is a perfect example. This is a perfect opportunity for you to actually either potentially get a plate and then just recall, or you can get a full tempo reset. I think you end up staying for a plate. Fast forwarding a little bit here. Nah, you end up not. Do you end up staying? You end up staying. Okay. You still got one more corrupting pot, I guess. Now, one thing I want to note, actually, here, Jack, is that in a lot of these matchups, whether it doesn't matter what you're versing, this is a perfect example of a time where you could just play for a tempo base right now. If you wanted to recall. Say, you could actually just base for a null magic right now, because that'd be really effective against their jungle and mid being AP and very CC reliant, and their comp being extremely CC reliant. If you spam all your abilities on this wave and completely ignore this Kassadin, just ignore him. Even if he riff walks onto you, he takes a trade, you just trade back, whatever, heavy trade, get the farm, and then just instantly go back and recall. The next wave is actually a cannon wave, coming out to cannon wave. You'll see. And if you're not sure, you can just pan your camera and just see, is that a cannon wave? Yes, it's a cannon wave. Brilliant. And then just recall right now. Now, Kassadin's not going to be able to shove out that whole next wave in time for you to. So you're going to be able to come back, catch the wave. You're not going to miss pretty much any CS, and then you're going to be able to get a whole free recall on this guy. Now, that how I was talking earlier in this coaching session about holding enough mana? That's what I meant.
Yeah.
This exact scenario, if you were right now, you wouldn't be able to make that sort of play. And if you were to heavy trade as well, it's even better, right? Because you're going to come back with full resources. He's going to maybe have to use his corrupting ports or refillables, whatever. But you're going to come back with full resources. Now, you may ask, how do I know when I want to do a tempo reset? Well, I feel the signs for me is like, okay, how many stacks of corrupting pots do I have? You have one, which is, potentially you want to base. You have a bit of gold. And a null magic mantle is quite an efficient item to buy. And you also have you have a pink ward already. So I actually don't mind you staying, given that you're close to a blasting wand, you have 2 trinkets still, you have a pink ward in the river, and you still have 1 corrupting pot. If I was in a situation where I was either low HP, no corrupting pots, no pink wards, no vision trinkets, then that would be a potential signal for me to be like, okay, maybe a potential tempo base might be beneficial. Got it?
Yeah.
Cool. Now you get some vision out. I like this ward here. Nice. You get the nice little fruit. It's river. Beautiful. Now, okay, this is something that I want to talk a little bit about. And this will come with time. And I don't expect you to do this all the time, but what do we see here in this frame? We see that our jungle's topside getting top scuttle. Now, their red's also spawning soon, and so this is a very common thing that I see, and I even make this mistake myself. This mistake sometimes myself is, I actually it's a very good habit to get into is lean onto the side where your jungler is. Now, if your jungler's top side getting scuttle and potentially looking to invade like this, and your bot side, you're not going to be able to create any form of man advantage or favorable fight. Whereas if you were here backing up your jungle and like say, maybe even Echo walked into here trying to stop this guy from getting scuttle, you're going to get to the fight first and it's going to be a favorable 2v2 skirmish mid-jungle. By walking with the jungler as well, you can also get way deeper vision that you would have otherwise been able to get. That's just another thing as well. So in this specific example, because you lean onto bot side, you get the fruit, whatever. Maybe you just wanted to get the fruit and not back up your jungler, it's completely fine as long as you understand that that is a concept that may also help you bring about favorable fights as a mid laner. Now, you stay here. I believe you try and back up this Echo. Okay. Some kills. And then this guy ends up holding his Riftwalk. Oh, very greedy by Kassadin, and then you end up killing him on the back end. Nice. So you're in a really good spot here. Like, I feel like this Kassadin's like pretty far behind. Like, I don't think he can. Like, you should be able to control and dictate this game completely now. So I'm assuming you shove and recall. Beautiful. What do you get? Blasting Wand and a Null Magic. Beautiful. Really good buy. And a Pink Ward. Nice. See Echo on bot side. Register that as information where the jungler is. Again, right now, given Dragon is you've got Dragon, I would probably be looking to put my vision topside, continue to play towards this Darius, given the next objective is this Rift Herald, and continue to kind of, I would put a Pink Ward in this stop push, and then put a vision trinket up here, and then in between waves, I'd actually be trying to tell my jungler to start this. Because if you can play a front-to-back fight around this Rift Herald, especially with Darius here, you guys just win that 3v3 any day. This is something that will come with time as well, and I don't want to focus too much on it. Like, in terms of actually climbing to, like, Master Tier and, like, the high ranks, I'll leave this here as maybe something that you can dwell on in the future, is that the best players in solo queue are the ones that actually take control, and they try and call things coherent to, again, their identity, but that bring about fights that are best for their champion. Now, if I was in this game and I'm right now, I'm like, well, there's two ways. I could just take very much a backseat in this game, be very selfish, ward my strong side, isolate this 1v1, continue to poke onto this Kassadin, or I could go a step further, be a little bit more proactive in the sense that, okay, I've got my vision here. Then and I notice that my top side's winning as well, why don't I just ping for this Rift Herald? Tell my jungler to do, or even type, do Rift, do Rift. Knowing that this would be a favorable fight, knowing that Kassadin's only on a Catalyst, I've got a Lost Chapter and a Blasting One nearly at my Mercury Treads as well. If a fight breaks out, we're going to win this fight easily. You know, that's the next layer, is actually calling things in the game. Or maybe you're playing in a more aggressive champion. Maybe you want to call for jungle invades using your vision. Maybe you want to play for dragon fights. Maybe you want to look for a side lane roam and ping on your way topside. Whatever it is, like, that's the next step. But I think that's something you will get to, and we can talk about, you know, if you have questions in Discord in the future. But and maybe I'll do a video on it. Is like the next layer to climbing is once you're so clear, and this is what I talk about in progression as being a mid laner. Once you're so clear on your identity, taking, you know, the mid lane fundamentals, taking trades coherent with your champion, doing the appropriate vision, step by step by step, then you'll, again, this is the form of the creativity and the next steps to kind of, there's so many little things as a mid laner can do, but one of them is which, and I think this was just an introductory concept, is, yeah, calling the next step, calling these objectives, so then that's going to actually bring about fights that are favorable for you. You know, we can maybe get to that in the future, but I thought that was interesting just to kind of bring up, and for all the people other watching, and in the stream as well. So you get some wards. Again, I feel like this pink ward's kind of unnecessary. I think you should be playing towards your jungler, especially since he's on top side and your top lane's winning. So I think that warding top side would be way better. And I think you should be, is that your trinket? Nah, it's not your trinket. I think you should definitely be using your trinket on top Raptors. I actually feel like here you're very vulnerable. Like, I don't know about you, but like, if Echo comes, like, you have no... Like, you're not even leaning onto the side where your vision is, really. Like, look where you're playing.
Yeah.
But anyway. And then you nearly kill him, and Echo comes and actually... Did he kill you? Chases you down. That's actually so interesting. Look at that. I actually... Before, I didn't even know what happened in this this gank. But I even said to you before it even happened, I said, you're very vulnerable now. You could actually just die to a gank. Like, I didn't even know what happened. I can already tell you're going to die. So, and again, like, I'm just always bringing it back to, like, what is your intention? Like, are you... Like, your vision has to... Vision always should allow you to bring about something in your lane. So, this vision... Yes, it's good for you to lean and play to that one side, but because you haven't used your vision trinket quite aggressively and you're playing... Like, look at your line of vision given your champion. If we draw a line here... I can't really draw it really well, but... What am I doing? So, like, you can see how with this line... It's a very poorly drawn line, but... You're standing up above the line of your vision. I can draw it on the minimap actually better. I'll draw it on the minimap. You're standing actually above the line of your vision. Now, if you want to play a very aggressive and poke someone under tower, you need to have vision above the line of your character. So this is going to allow you to lean aggressively onto one side. Now, the vision you have now, it is nice, but it's not nice enough that you can actually poke under tower. And for me, what I'm thinking straight away in terms of threat, I'm thinking, well, if Echo comes around this corner, or, you know, even out of this corner, you know, I may even have to blow my flash, especially if Kassadin, you know, R slows me. Like, I might have to blow my flash. And what is that? And as Oriana, especially Jack, I'm an immobile mage. I want to play very slow. I want to play, you know, in terms of the types of fights I want. My jungler is on this as well. I want to be looking to back him up. I don't want to give the enemy jungler an opportunity to blow my flash or make anything chaotic. Now, this is actually ties into one last point before we kind of round up this video, is that, have you played jungle at all?
A little bit, yeah.
So, if you're doing an objective, a Rift Herald or a Dragon, do you know how frustrating it is when your junglers, when your mid laner or a side laner actually plays aggressive while you're doing an objective? Like, you're actually, like, by you playing aggressive like this without the appropriate vision, while your Yi is actually doing the Rift Herald, it's like worst case scenario. This also ties into the thing, you're doing something that is actually losing you the game. Like, you're not even, the other player's not even playing well. You're just doing something. You're putting yourself in a position where you can actually just lose the game. Now, the reason I say this is, imagine if Echo just comes and ganks. He's not going to be able to get off he doesn't want to get off this Rift Herald. It's half HP, and he's half HP. He spent all this time and resources trying to kill this Rift Herald, and you're giving a beautiful opportunity for the Echo or the enemy jungler to come and gank. Now, it's a completely different story if Yi's just in the area, you know, not really doing much, just getting vision and ready to counter gank, but Yi's actually doing something. Now, this is a bit of, you know, sympathy, a bit of, this is out there for all the junglers out there, is if the jungler is doing something, I play towards them. It's like they coexist, and they're not two independent champions. It's like codependence, interdependence. The jungler and the mid laner should revolve around each other. When I see my jungler doing Dragon or Rift Herald, I don't want to heavy trade. I want to lean to them. I want to get vision for them. I want to lean. I want to get to the fight first. If something happens, I want to zone the enemy jungler, stop him from coming into the river. I want to do things that help him. Or if my jungler's looking to gank my lane, he's ready, waiting in the area, then I'll play quite aggressively, knowing to get him low, creating gank opportunities. Or, you know, if he's looking to roam topside and make a dive top, then I'm going to push out the wave, lean topside, knowing that if a fight breaks out, I'm going to get there, turn it into from a 2v2 into a 2v3. So these are all things that I do, and I feel like this ties into that underlying principle for you, Jack, which is your lack of jungle awareness as a whole. We're not just talking about the enemy jungle, we're talking about your own team's jungle and just awareness of things going on in the game. Now, I'm going to leave the VOD there because there's so much we've kind of gone through in this,
yeah,
a lot of things we've gone through. I think that Yeah, we've definitely gone through a lot of stuff in that session. In terms of actionable steps moving forward, Jack, what I'll do, I'll send you privately on Discord a bunch of the topics we actually covered, and I'll take some notes here. But to round off this session, is there any questions before I talk about what I think you should focus on? Do you have any questions about anything that I mentioned in this video?
No, not really. It's pretty straightforward.
Do you
just start thinking about what I'm doing more?
And feel free to watch this VOD over a few times, because I think there's so much information in there that this is enough for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think this session was helpful?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
I'll have to see what the results are, but
yeah. So what I'll do in terms of actionable steps, I really like to hone it into like literally 1 or 2 things max. Right, so writing my notepad here, but what I think personally, in my personal opinion, what I think you should be focusing on is 1. And ideally, what you would have is like a sticky note under your PC, under your monitor, or maybe a notepad that's you refer to in between games all the time. First thing I want you to think about, and let's just say for the sake of your improvement, do you enjoy playing Oriana? I'm assuming you enjoy playing Oriana.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I want you to pretty much just play a lot of Oriana. Make that one of your core 3 champions. So, step one, before you even get into any of the gameplay stuff, is pick 3 champions out of all these ones that you have in your champion pool to hone in on. Right? I'm hoping one of which is going to be Oriana. So, let's start with Oriana for now. Now, after you've picked those 3 champions, and one of which being Oriana, now, as an overarching, this can be applied to all 3 of these champions, is have a think about, and even ideally get a notepad, and then think about try and describe the identity and the strengths and weaknesses of that champion. So for Oriana, like we highlighted in this session, the strengths of the champion being Oriana's range, right? Oriana's range, her scaling is quite nice. What does she want in terms of the laning phase? She wants an isolated 1v1. She's not really that good in early skirmishes 2v2, so she wants to ward appropriately for that. She, in terms of weaknesses, she's very immobile, so very flash reliant. Flash is pretty much her only form of self-peel. What sort of fight? She doesn't want to be getting flanked. She doesn't want to be the flanker. She wants to play fights front to back or very calculated. All these things, I want you to literally spend the time, and yes, it may seem a little weird, but once you get a very clear picture about the identity of your champion, then we can start to reverse engineer, okay, what should I be doing then in my laning phase? Well, what are some of the things that I should be looking to do? What items should I be playing towards? What feels strong? Do I feel strong off a Darksteel Amp Tomb? Do I feel strong off, a Lost Chapter? Do I feel strong off Tier 2 boots? Whatever it is, literally write it all down. Now, then, once you've got that's the second step. Third step, when you get into a game, this is going to be the first actionable thing I want you to improve on, is I want you to have a think about what sort of trades are best for that champion. Do you want heavy trades? Do you want chaos? Do you want short trades? Do you want 100 to 0 trades? Do you want extended trades? Are you playing a champion that takes Conqueror and wants to chase him down the long lane like Diana, and you want extended trades? What sort of trades do you want? Now, once you've identified that you should have already identified that in your champion thing that you've kind of spoken about or written down in your notepad about the champion identity, then your first objective, I want you to be focused on taking trades that are best for your champion. That's it. Like, and literally, make that your number 1 focus. And I think at the same time, you can also do this 3 taking trades. So trading coherent with champion identity.
Yeah.
And then number 4 will be, I want you to prioritize CS. So in terms of mentally, I want you to shift and reverse your number 1 right now. Your number 1 priority is poking rather than CSing. I want you to reverse that. I want you to be CSing. How can I make sure that I hit every single CS in lane, or majority of them? I'm talking 95% of them, and then poke. Like, let's see actually what that does, because that's my theory anyway. My theory with your lack of CSing is a result of incorrect prioritization of incorrect emphasis on certain priorities within your laning. So CSing mindset. I want you to just do those two things, first of all. Just do if you can just whenever every single game and you enter your review, look at the VOD and literally go into the VOD. I know if you use OBS to record your games or you just go through the replay file, ideally you have some sort of recording program like an OBS or something where you can actually look at your point of view. That is ideal. And actually go through and be like, okay, the trades I took here, was I playing according to the strength of my champion? Was I abusing my range advantage? Was I taking shorter trades? Was I holding the wave in an appropriate place given the amount of threat level 1? Oh, that's actually, the other thing, which is an easy one to implement, number 5 here. I'm making all very simple things that you can always implement, like starting off with, is for the pre-game checklist thing. You know what we did...
the jungle summoner spells. Yeah.
So jungle, I want you to think about specifically, and this is a theory I have at the moment. So jungle matchup and summoners. But what's the most important thing here? Remember, was I want you to have a hypothesis, like a science experiment. You know, when you go to school and you went into a science experiment and you had this fucking shitty report, and it's like, this is the hypothesis that we're testing today. We're going to see if like this explodes when it hits this. Whatever I want you to have any hypothesis, whether it's, I think Lee Sin can gank me level 2, so I have to play accordingly, or X champion won't gank me till level 5, whatever. Have any form of hypothesis. I don't care if it's wrong, because then if it's wrong, you can go in the review and be like, oh, well, I thought Lee Sin couldn't gank me level 2, but he did. So now I know that Lee Sin can do that. So you can kind of see where I'm coming from. Yeah. If you have a form of hypothesis, then you can complete the learning cycle. You won't actually complete the learning cycle if you don't have some form of initial hypothesis. So again, rounding it out, pick your 3 champions. 2, get a notepad, literally write out, or a document online, whatever you want to do, talking about writing out the identity of the champion. Number 3. Which is going to be a first learning objective, which is every single game I want you trading coherently with the identity of your champion. So in review, constantly look at, okay, in the first 10 minutes of this game, what sort of trades was I taking? Does this make sense given the strengths, weaknesses, the matchup, the jungle matchup, the CSing mindset, implying the CSing mindset that we spoke about in 5, that pre-game checklist every single game. This is the bare basic fundamental stuff that I think if you can apply, it has an impact on the rest of the game if you can just do those things. So, yeah, you got that? Makes sense?
Yep, word of time.
Cool. So what we'll do we can do a bit of a question thing here. So, I don't even know if there's how many questions we got here in the chat. There's a lot of... Holy shit, we got 685 people in the chat at the moment, man.
At 700 a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's not really many. Oh, this guy said, bro, I'm hard stuck, plat 1. I wouldn't give... I don't know, there's not really many questions. This is a lot of banter. I don't think there's many questions. So actually, for all of you guys who in the YouTube, if you haven't already joined, I answer most of my questions on the on my Discord or stuff like that. And you can leave content requests or have questions in the Discord or message me privately on Discord. I'm pretty active as well. So coaching sessions. This one was a bit of a one-off since Jack here actually won a giveaway. I'll be doing more coaching giveaways as I hit more milestones. I'll do more giveaways as I hit more milestones within the Discord and my YouTube. So yeah, you just make sure you enter all the coaching giveaways. I'm trying to kind of do less coaching because I really want to focus on doing more YouTube content because I only have so much time in a day, and I'm really trying to do more focus on my YouTube content. So I'll do more coaching in the future, but yeah. I'll answer one question. This guy says, I have a question. How can I carry people who get caught all the time? Already, that is the wrong question that you're asking. I can already tell Xander, if you have that mentality, it's like, how can I carry people who get caught? Like, your mentality is wrong. Like, you're always going to have people around you that you can't control your teammates. Like, you're always going to have bad teammates. You need to like shift your focus from what my teammates did wrong to like what you got to focus on all the small details. No player plays perfectly. Like, How efficient were you with your wards? Could you have played for more tempo in your laning phase? Could you have got better resets? Could you have taken better trades? Could you have played better off your item spikes? How is your CSing and laning phase, your spacing? All these things, they all contribute to how a game plays out. So if you can focus on all those things, like refer to my videos when I do my unranked to challenger. Like I don't, my team ints around me. I literally did a TF video recently I put out where my bot lane and my top lane lose, and then I still win. Because I'm just playing my own game and playing very strict fundamental League of Legends. But yeah, I will answer the rest of the questions on there's too many questions. I'll answer the rest of the questions, guys, in the Discord. So yeah, and the Discord link is in the description here if you want to join the Discord. And yeah, if you have any questions, just leave them in there and I'll answer them in the Discord. So I've been doing this. How long has this call been going for, man?
Like 2 hours. Right?
Holy shit.
Yeah, about 2 hours.
I'm gonna have some lunch, Jack, and then after lunch I'll PM you a bunch of notes that I had about our session. All right?
Okay. Sweet.
Cool. All right. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, thanks for the giveaway.
All good, man. All right, catch you later.
Yep.
All right, thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any questions, leave them in the Discord. Cheers.